Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1. You are going to hear a telephone conversation between a woman inquiring about a global relocation company and an employee who works there. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6.
Global relocation. Alan speaking. How may I help you?
Good morning. We're moving to London and I'm calling to get some information about your European relocation service.
Certainly, madam. First of all, I'll need to get some personal details. May I take your full name, please?
It's Linda Bruce.
Thanks. And what's your current address?
It's 359 Harbourview Avenue here in Sydney and the postcode's 2060.
And could I take a contact phone number?
I think you should have my mobile number, as you'll always be able to get me on that. It's 054 269 81502.
Great. I've noted that. Now, what kind of service do you require? You can either go for the half move, where our men just load all your furniture and boxes into the lorry, or the full move, which means that our team comes in and does the packing for you.
I think we'll go for the first option, please. It'll save us a fair bit of money, I imagine.
Yes, it definitely works out a lot cheaper. Okay, so which month are you thinking of moving?
Well, my son finishes school in June, so I just want to get on with it once he's free. I imagine we'll be ready to go by the middle of July. That gives us the month of August to get nicely settled into the new place.
And my next few questions are actually about your new home. Do you have a preferred location?
We've discussed this, and as we're used to the hustle and bustle of living in the centre of the city, we think we'll stick with this. It's just so handy, being a stone's throw away from everything. We've never really lived in the suburbs, you see, so we might find the pace of life a bit too slow.
Sure. And do you have a preference in terms of the kind of home you want?
Yes, we're only interested in apartments, so please limit your search to those. Friends have mentioned the great houses that are available in some neighbourhoods over there, but we'll go with the lifestyle we're used to. Oh, and we'll need at least 3 bedrooms, okay?
Okay, exactly.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10.
Now, you mentioned your son, so I guess you'd like to be near some schools? Is it a nursery school you'll need?
He's already been through that, thankfully. He's in primary now, but he turns 11 next month, so he'll be moving to the next level.
All right, I've made a note of that. Close to a secondary school. Now, is there anything else you'd like to have in the new property?
It'd be great to have a balcony, even a little one, so that we can sit out and have our meals. My son wants a swimming pool, but my husband and I aren't too bothered about that. And I think it's highly unlikely that we'd be able to find anything with a garden, even a communal one.
OK, I've got that. Well, I think we've covered the main details, but we always ask our clients if there's any other information they want to give us which might be useful in our search.
Like what, for example?
Well, say anything relating to hobbies.
That's an excellent idea. My son's quite keen on music and he plans to carry on with the piano lessons he's been having. He's very conscientious, so we'll need to find some kind of music school for him. He's talking about taking up the drums, but I'm in no rush for that, obviously. My husband's been talking about having guitar lessons, but we can sort that out later.
I've made a note of that. And finally, is there anything I can research for you personally?
I'm a keen tennis player and I wouldn't mind joining a local club, but again, there's no rush on that. I'm actually a personal trainer myself and I'd like to get back into employment, at least on a part-time basis. I used to train employees in an IT company here.
So shall I put together some information on gyms in the area then? That'd be a good starting point.
That would be perfect, thanks.
OK. Well, I've certainly got enough to be getting on with, and if you don't mind me saying, you sound...
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2. You are going to hear a speech about an opportunity to buy a holiday home in the Irish National Park. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15.
Welcome everyone, and thanks for coming to this information evening. My name's Sean Brady, and I'm here to tell you about a wonderful new investment opportunity. The chance to buy a cottage in the Glen Resort in the magnificent Connemara National Park. First, let me tell you about the history of the Glen Resort. The Glen family has lived in this gorgeous national park for over 100 years. They put down roots here back in the early 20th century. Until now, they've been the only private landowners in the national park, and they established a hotel here in 1914. This area of Connemara was not declared a national park until 1908, 4 years after the Glen family settled here in 1904. Today, the park has been transformed and is now renowned for its diverse variety of grasses. There are over 180 species here. It's also, as a matter of interest, home to some of the oldest trees in Ireland. And while we don't have the high, flowing waterfalls that some other Irish parks can boast of, we do have other attractions, such as our treetop walking trails and wonderful caves to explore. So, what's special about our cottages? The architects did a fantastic job blending the cottages into the natural environment and making sure they are energy efficient, as they're all equipped with solar panels. But I believe what makes them truly unique is the fact that only a select few cottages will ever be constructed. Not many people, therefore, will get the opportunity to live here. Once you've bought your cottage, you don't need to worry about doing the gardening, because as part of your contract, we take care of that for you. And for a small additional charge, when you're not using your cottage, you can have a secure income by letting us organise short-term holiday rentals for it. Now let me tell you about some of the features of the cottages. We offer a choice of 2 designs, and all of our cottages are nestled in the mountains. Phase 1 cottages feature a bathroom and either 1, 2 or 3 bedrooms, although all the Phase 2 cottages feature an extra bathroom and space for 3 families to sleep in. They don't, however, feature a fireplace, unlike the earlier cottages.
Before you hear the rest of the recording, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20.
Well, I'm sure you're keen to find out more details of this fantastic investment. So if you could all turn to the map of the resort that's in your pack, I'll tell you about the location and the surroundings of the cottages. If you look at the map, you can see the cottages on the left, at the bottom. To the right of the cottages, you'll see a long, low building with an apple tree opposite it. That's our art gallery, and you'll find lots of beautiful landscape paintings by local artists in there. What else do I need to mention? Oh, yes, between the cottages and the pond, there's a really old building which was once the Glen family home. It's now a museum. There are so many advantages of living in a resort like this one. Imagine strolling over to our award-winning restaurant from your cottage. Walk past the pond, and it's just beyond that. As you can see, the restaurant faces the pond, so you can sit and look at the water which is lit up at night. The first building that most people see when they arrive at the resort is the Visitors Centre, because it's just across from the car park. That's it in the top left-hand corner of the map, on the edge of the resort, by the way. Let me see, is there anything I've forgotten? Ah, yes, the children's pool, of course. That's very important for the little ones, and it's very near the cottages. Walk from the cottages towards the picnic area in the middle of the resort, and you'll come across this area. There are some seats under the apple tree to the right of it, where you can sit and watch the kids swim. So, I hope that gives you a much better idea of where everything is located. Now, I'm sure you've all got plenty to think about and discuss, so I'll end here. But if you got any questions, I'll be sat over there.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
In this section, you will listen to a speech given by Dalai Lama on the importance of emphasizing the equality of everyone as part of humanity. Now look at questions 21 to 27.
My concern or feeling is that of course I'm Buddhist, but on further, deeper level, I'm a human being, one of the now nearly 7 billion human beings. I'm one of them. Humans are a social animal, so each individual's future entirely depends on the rest of humanity. So for my own self-interest, I have to think seriously about humanity. On the fundamental level, on the human level, according to my own experience, I know there are about 7 billion human beings. Each one wants a happy life. None of them wants suffering, and each one has every right to achieve that. There's no difference, whatever religious faith we may be, or as a non-believer, whatever social background we may come from, rich or poor, educated or uneducated, from a royal family or a beggar, we're the same human being on that level. We are the same. We all have the same right. I think with many problems that we, humanity as a whole, are facing, we place too much emphasis on the secondary level differences. I think Buddha Shakyamuni's motivation for gaining enlightenment was meant for all sentient beings. His whole life and his whole teaching were meant for sentient beings, not only for Buddhists. Look back at the 20th century. I think the 20th century has become a very, very important century in the whole of human history. We invented many, many positive things, and at the same time, the 20th century has become a century of bloodshed, a century of violence. Even in the name of different religious faiths, there was violence and division. So the 20th century really has become a century of bloodshed, a century of violence. According to some historian, over 200 million human beings were killed. If such immense suffering really brought about some good things on this planet, brought a more peaceful, happier world, then such an amount of suffering could be justified.
Now look at questions 28 to 30.
But that's not the case. Even at the beginning of this century, some unhealthy things and unhappy things here and there. These are, I think, the result of symptom or past mistakes, past negligence. And then also concerning technology, there are immense advances, but that technology also sometimes added to the power of destruction. Science and technology themselves are wonderful, but in order to use them constructively, it ultimately depends on this, our hearts. It depends on the heart of the user of the technology, the user of the science and the knowledge of science. If you expect a better world to come about from money, to come about from science, to come about from technology, that's wrong. If you really want a better world, a happier world, it ultimately depends on this, our hearts. Intelligence and education are also not very certain to bring about a better world. All these troublemakers we've had, I think as far as their brain are concerned, these people were very smart. So it's their motivation here in their hearts. Anger, fear, hatred, suspicion, they are the cause of these problems. So first of all, in order to make this 21st century become a peaceful century, we have to think about inner peace. Peace is never achieved through declarations, through resolutions, through slogans. Peace must come through inner peace. That's the only way. So in order to create a happier world, ultimately you have to look at this. The motivation of each individual through a world body like the United Nations. You can build inner peace. Peace must come through people's inner peace on the individual level.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear a student speaking on chocolate, its origin, production and popularity. The presentation will be beneficial to the students taking courses in bakery and confectionery. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Chocolate is a typically sweet, usually brown food preparation of Theobroma cacao seeds roasted and ground, often flavoured, as with vanilla. It is made in the form of a liquid, paste or in a block, or used as a flavouring ingredient in other sweet foods. Cacao has been cultivated by many cultures for at least 3 millennia in Mesoamerica. The earliest evidence of use traces to the Moquaya, that is, Mexico and Guatemala, with evidence of chocolate beverages dating back to 1900 BC. In fact, the majority of Mesoamerican people made chocolate beverages, including the Maya and Aztecs, who made it into a beverage known as a Nahuatl word meaning bitter water. The seeds of the cacao tree have an intense bitter taste and must be fermented to develop the flavour. After fermentation, the beans are dried, cleaned and roasted. The shell is removed to produce cacao nibs, which are then ground to cocoa mass, pure chocolate in rough form. Because the cocoa mass is usually liquefied before being moulded with or without other ingredients, it is called chocolate liquor. The liquor also may be processed into two components, cocoa solids and cocoa butter. Unsweetened baking chocolate, which is bitter chocolate, contains primarily cocoa solids and cocoa butter in varying proportions. Much of the chocolate consumed today is in the form of sweet chocolate, a combination of cocoa solids, cocoa butter or other fat, and sugar. Milk chocolate is sweet chocolate that additionally contains milk powder or condensed milk. White chocolate contains cocoa butter, sugar and milk, but no cocoa solids. Cocoa solids are one of the richest sources of flavonol antioxidants. They also contain alkaloids such as theobromine, phenethylamine and caffeine. These have physiological effects on the body and are linked to serotonin levels in the brain. Some research has found that chocolate, eaten in moderation, can lower blood pressure. The presence of theobromine renders chocolate toxic to some animals, especially dogs and cats. Chocolate has become one of the most popular food types and flavours in the world, and a vast number of foodstuffs involving chocolate have been created. Chocolate chip cookies have become very common and very popular in most parts of Europe and North America. Gifts of chocolate moulded into different shapes have become traditional on certain holidays. Chocolate is also used in cold and hot beverages, such as chocolate milk and hot chocolate. Although cocoa originated in the Americas, today Western Africa produces almost 2/3 of the world's cocoa, with Côte d'Ivoire growing almost half of it. European Union regulations require dark chocolate to have at least 60% cocoa solids, milk chocolate 25%, and white chocolate none. The word chocolate entered the English language from Spanish. How the word came into Spanish is less certain, and there are competing explanations. Perhaps the most cited explanation is that the chocolatl comes from Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs, from the word chocolate, which many sources derive from chocolatl, combining chococ, sour or bitter, and atl, water or drink. However, as William Bright noted, the word chocolatl does not occur in central Mexican colonial sources, making this an unlikely derivation. Santa Maria gives a derivation from the Yucatec Mayan word chocol, meaning hot, and the Nahuatl atl, meaning water. Sophie and Michael D. Coe agree with this etymology word chocolatl.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.